Hello Virgo, welcome or welcome back to Mind, Body and Heart Tarot Therapy. I'm here to do the reading for the month of July 2020. Welcome to July. I hope you're well, Virgo. I hope you're doing well with all these intense energies, eclipses and retrogrades and all. I think July is a month of integration for many of us, of this Mercury retrograde that we are still in, and the post-shadow phase of the Venus retrograde. Anyhow, let's see what's going on with you this month, my dear Virgo. So this is a general reading for Virgo, Sun, Moon and Rising signs. If it resonates, and if it doesn't, then it's just not your reading. Let's see, so you have the Ten of Cups as your current energy, beautiful. Then you have the Page of Swords as the challenge for this month of July. Very well. You have the Devil as your advice. I like when the Devil comes as advice. Okay, and future energy. You have the Seven of Swords. And bottom of the deck you have the High Priestess as the theme of your reading. Alright, my dear, so it seems that you're being called to really go within yourself a bit. Let's clarify these cards before we go into it. So what are these cards here? Okay, so you have the Emperor with the Ten of Cups as your current energy. You have the Five of Pentacles and the Five of Wands with the Page of Swords as your challenge. Where's the Devil here as your advice? Well, you have 3 fives, my dear. So you have Death, Five of Swords and Seven of Cups is your advice with the Devil. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay. So why is the Seven of Swords as your future energy? Oh, there's the Empress too, along with the Emperor. Strength, the King of Swords and the Empress is the future energy, along with the Seven of Swords. And bottom of the deck, along with the High Priestess, you have the Eight of Wands. I see this a lot this month. Also in personal readings, not just in the online ones. So I think it's a month where we all need to be receptive to messages that come from deeper within ourselves, not just the conscious mind, not just the result of rational thinking and the rationalizing and processing of the mind, but rather messages that come from really sitting with it. And this is it, like this is what you're called to do this month. Sit with it. Sit with everything that comes up for you. The High Priestess does that. She's the guardian between the two worlds. She's the number 2, so she is the mother of emotions. She's at the birth of duality. And duality in both in its good and bad side. We need duality because we understand ourselves by mirroring into the other, and understand the white in relationship with the black, and we understand the black in relationship to the white. But we also forget that they are a pair of opposites and they function together. And that's important. That's important because we always miss this information. We either have a preference for white, either have a preference for black, and we identify with one or the other. But they are coming together. They're two sides of the same coin. So duality in itself plays a role of experiencing, but we also need to decondition ourselves from the duality eventually. And I think that the Eight of Wands is going to touch on that. somehow. You see, you have the lightning bolt here, and it creates with these ones here coming together, it creates a clearing in this darkness nearby. And this lightning, I'm not sure if you see it, this lightning is actually very colorful, and it hits in one in particular, and I feel like this is what creates the clearing. This is the type of insight that you get when you sit with it, when you allow your mind to, you know, do its thing, like, but not identify with it. It's very important to understand how this works. Like mindfulness meditation, for example, a lot of people think that, hey, I need to just control my mind, I need to just push the thoughts away. Whenever I see a thought, I need to come back, and that's it, you know. But it's not it. That's not it. This process happens naturally as you learn to settle and to observe, to relax. Yes, we're using the breath as an anchor, and we are putting an intention that whenever I notice my mind wandering, I come back to the breath. But the wandering mind, the mind will wander. The wandering, the observing of the process of the wandering mind is already awareness. So we're not pushing anything away, we're just not feeding it. If I see that my mind had been wandering to thoughts, I don't necessarily going to go along with that train of thought. It means that, okay, yeah, my mind has been wandering. Where did it go? There. If it helps, you can note. Sorry, I don't know why I get so detailed about this, but I think it's... I don't necessarily assume you meditate. If you try to meditate, if you get curious, go for it. But it's more about like how we view our internal experience. You know, it's not about controlling the mind. It's again about if it goes into a bad, what you perceive to be a bad pattern or a negative whirlpool of thoughts. The clearing happens not when you're just trying to not go there, because that trying just creates more of that dynamics. It's a push and pull. The clearing happens when you allow yourself to settle with it, when you allow yourself to really just be present and observe. And yes, using the breath as an anchor is just creating space for you to have a different place within the body where you can feel yourself, so that you don't just go into the train of thoughts. There is no problem with the thoughts will come, the thoughts will go, the emotions will come, the emotions will go. The thoughts and emotions are linked together. But as you become curious and as you become more concerned with just observing, rather than saying this is good, this is bad, this I like, this I don't like, this thought is terrible. No, it is good and bad. It's just a judgment made of the mind. There's no such thing as good or bad ultimately. It's just our perception of it. Because they are a pair of opposites. Something is good in relation to something bad, and something is bad in relation to something good, and it's very relative to context. It's very relative to value system of a certain time and place. Of course, some things are going to be always considered good or bad, but they're still in the reference system of, say, the humanity at large, or life itself, or this earth. But earth is like just a small thing within the whole universe, and maybe on the other side of the universe, what is considered bad here could be, I don't know, good, or doesn't matter. Okay, that's a lot of ranting around. But I hope it makes sense. Because I think, yeah, this is it, like sitting with it and not having to suffer through it. A lot of people believe that if I sit with what triggers me, or if I sit with what I feel right now, or if I just sit in meditation, it needs to look like this or needs to look like that. No, it's really just about creating space. That's it. You create space for your experience to be as it is, and that's when the clearing happens, because we're not resisting anymore. And hey, doesn't come as easy as it sounds, obviously, because the mind always has its own way get to stumble, you know, and be like, okay, maybe I'm doing it, maybe I'm not doing it, I'm overthinking it, oh no no no, I'm doing something wrong, or I'm doing something good, or this is for the you know, like it can create story after story after story. It's very easy to get lost in the stories. Okay, but current energy, you have the Ten of Cups and the Emperor. So you seem to be very in tune with your emotions right now, and you seem to be very in tune with what you need and being able to give yourself that. This is a very good place to be, you know. It's harmony, it's joy, it's balance. And with the Emperor, it's a position of like stability and inner authority. You are able to feel into your inner authority. I see this eclipse here. I need to check out like what's the actual meaning of that eclipse there, from what it is meant by the I never read the booklet for this deck, but I tend to read much more intuitively this deck. It feels interesting that the eclipse is there with the Emperor. You know, the Emperor is masculine energy, is Aries energy, is fire, is somebody who is in full authority, with a lot of initiating power, and somebody who's also able to take care of one's own needs, but also the whole empire's needs. Now that can be your family, friends, blah 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 blah, but I think it's much more about our inner world, you know, being able to tend to all sides of ourselves. Of course, the dark side of the Emperor, that can become a little bit over controlling, but I don't think that's the case right now, because this comes with the Ten of Cups and it's your current energies. No, it's cool. The eclipse though, I will just link it to the eclipse season right now. I feel like there's something that you're not seeing yet, having to do with joy and happiness and your inner authority and power, that may be revealed within this eclipse season. So stay tuned to yourself, because there's a lot of information coming through. There's a lot of information coming through. That's what this card says. And if we're open to receive this information, we can use it for our own benefit and for the benefit of our the whole world, ultimately, that we get in touch with. But if we are trying to rationalize too much, or if we're sitting into the mind too much, or if we're too concerned with being in the good or in the bad and judging the experience for what I think should be, then we are not really taking in the information. We are rejecting it as good or bad, you know. And I think that the good or bad talk comes also because the devil is here at the center of your reading. But let's go through the challenge first. So fives talk in general about challenges. Well, sevens are spiritual challenges, but fives are this challenge of having to grow from a place of stability, which is the four, from a place where you finally found the footing and you feel like, hey, I finally find some ground to walk on, and I feel more stable. But you know, if we get stuck in there, if we just sit in that security that we created for ourselves, whether it's in a spiritual world, whether it's in the physical world, whether it's in the emotional or mental world, which, by the way, they combine to be our own world, but we also have them as different elements, you know, or different manifestations that influence each other all the time. There needs to be growth, and that growth will feel insecure, and that growth will feel kind of the unknown. So the fives are basically like when we're starting to scan around us, you know, but we're not going too far with it. We're just like starting feeling, okay, what's I have this secure ground that I'm sitting on right now. What's right next to me? Can I step here? Feels a bit fuzzy. Can I step here? No, this feels really bad. Can I step here? Okay, this feels secure enough. I can move in here. But I'm not gonna go on a large area. So the fives are basically a period of freedom because we are moving whichever way we want to go, but it's also insecurity. And that's a bit of a paradox of freedom, you know. Like, say, for example, if you want to move from a stable job to a freelancing job, yes, you've got a lot more freedom with the freelancing job, but also you have much more insecurity. Am I going to keep a flux of clients? Am I going to be okay after all the taxes are being paid? What are the unpredictable circumstances that come through in terms of, I don't know, health, this, that, you know? And yeah, it can be scary, but it's just a step. Maybe you need to go through this step in order to go forward, to build up a new type of security. I have the Page of Swords here. Page of Swords is like that transformation of the mind that allows for natural growth to happen. And it also means like communication and messages, somebody who's like becoming a student of communication, somebody who's slowly starting to understand oneself and one's needs and start putting them into words and into a communication that makes sense, honors both oneself, but also doesn't aim to distort things or to manipulate, but rather to inform. And it may be difficult for you right now to stay true to your process, to allow this growth to happen, to allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you feel without getting like completely depressed about it. Of the Five of Wands also, it's about like, you know, it's very interesting how these wands are at the different intersection of the lines, like a completely different directions. It can be the Five of Wands can be that part of when you're a bit feisty and challenged by other people, which can be ultimately good. It's good to go into like tiny conflicts and like air out our grievances, and that can, clearing out that air could be very helpful in order to not project, you know, to understand what's the other perspective, and we learn a lot from that. It's also a bit of a competition feeling where like we need to kind of show where we're coming from, maybe prove oneself to a certain degree. And that's, again, not always comfortable. It depends if you like that. If you're all into natural competition, hey yeah, go for it. But at the same time can also be intimidating or whatever. And we can take it all too seriously. Now, all this together, come on. All this together suggests to me that you find it difficult to really be present with this, to really understand what your needs are in this particular from these parts of yourself, and be able to communicate. It's very interesting though, because here you have a lot of like stability in the current energy where you are right now, and this harmony and stability maybe allows you to see this part of yourself, to allows you to see how this growth happens, and maybe that sphere of transformation, this sphere of flexibility, this sphere of communication that you may muster as you look at the next step, look at what's coming for you in terms of where do I need to expand myself, where do I need to take that step from security to something that it tells me it's going to be insecure. So I think that you have a somewhat level of serenity right now to observe this, and you're definitely called into going into meditation with this and sit with it and discover more about this. You know, the pages also have this, they're like children growing, they have a natural curiosity, and allow that natural curiosity to come through and see, okay, why do I feel, not why, but just observe how it feels more, observe what it is that's there. Okay, there's a rose there and it's all in the darkness, but hey, there's this light here. What does that mean for me? Okay, again, it's not about analyzing it too much. It's just about being present with it. And the clearing comes as you're just holding space for that tension. Fives are points of tension. It's holding space for the tension. Serenity, nice. That's what comes through with that. Okay, so you have the Devil, Death, Five of Swords, yet another one, and the Seven of Cups as your advice. The Devil can talk about where we are deceiving ourselves, and especially because it comes out of the Seven of Cups. It's that energy of illusion, that energy of delusion. Where are we deluding ourselves? And we do that, we all do that. Sometimes we are more aware of it, sometimes less aware of it. And the scary part is that we come into this inner conflict, we become split within ourselves. There's like this energy of being tied to something, being held back by something, whether that's a relationship but it's very internal. It feels very internal to me. Okay, yeah, I see here a couple with children, and I see these two people here being tied together by the chains of the devil. It can manifest into the world as feeling tied to a relationship or feeling tied to a partnership of sorts that doesn't serve you all that well anymore, but or if it ever did. But I think it's much more about this internal conflict, this internal split between what I want and what I don't want, what is healthy for me versus what is not healthy for me, and where am I being honest with myself. The point is, and I think that's where the Death card comes in, we need to be able to allow this tension to simply be transformed by its own energy, by being able to hold space for both sides at the same time. Both extremes, the masculine, the feminine, the black and the white, the inner critic versus the inner whatever that is, the needy one or the codependent one or the addicted one, or the which is actually just a coping mechanism for the basic need not being met. So death comes in as a surrender of the capitulation of this fight, and understand, okay, wait, what do we stand for? What are we really fighting for here? Am I projecting my sense of something's wrong with me, blah blah blah, on you, and you mirror that back at me, and then I'm angry at you? Again, that can be internal, can also come out as external, but it's very much internal. And like this way, by sensing into these emotions and by really being present and holding space at the same time for two aspects of ourselves, this can allow for an natural blending together. And it's like when you have, say, what's that? It's something that holds water, and the water is sandy. If you just give it space, don't move it, hold still with it, the sand will naturally go down at the bottom, and the water will naturally clear out in the top. They use that in Buddhism actually to explain the Vipassana process as a way of purification. The point is that you don't need to do anything about it. You don't need to make a judgment. You don't need to say this is good or this is bad. You don't need to take one side or the other of this conflict. You don't need to give in to temptations of running away or of pushing forward, or just don't feed into the conflict whatsoever. As you observe this from the outside, you know, that's not dissociation. Some people, I guess that this could be interpreted as, okay, so I need to dissociate from my experience. No, no, it's about being present, feeling. Seven of Cups is about really tending, feeling into the body, feeling at body level. Where is this? Where do I feel? Okay, when I think about this, or when I'm just being present and just sitting here, my mind goes there, and then I notice that, I don't know, there's a strong sensation at my chest, or there's a strong sensation in my belly, or there's a strong sensation in my shoulders, you know. And being with that and not wishing it away, not saying that this is good or this is bad. Yeah, noticing if I find it uncomfortable, but you know, holding space again for it, for my experience. It will naturally start like separating what works for me and what doesn't, and that clearing, that clarity comes through. It's a message that's coming deeply for you, but that message is not going to come from me here. The message is going to come from within yourself, with the High Priestess here as the theme of your reading. It's not easy. Definitely, it's not easy. So, it is a process. It does take time. It does take training. It does take faith within yourself that you can actually do it. You can be present with it without necessarily breaking down. And when you break down, it's about being present with that too, not punishing yourself for it. Whatever you see that there's divide, whatever you see within yourself that there's split and conflict, hold space for the two direct opposites within that conflict without taking one side or another. Allow them maybe to speak. That can be through journaling, that can be through enactment, that can be through painting, you know, like, you know, find a way to allow expression for both sides. Or to simply feel, again, in the body. You notice there's the inner critic, there's this other part, whichever that is. And they are at odds with each other. I feel in both at the same time without necessarily having to get to be a mind process. This might not make so much sense to you unless you have a little bit of meditation experience, actually. I don't know how else to explain the... Anyhow, it is what it is. This is not going to resonate with everyone. I need to make my peace with that. So Seven of Swords is the future energy. And then you have the Strength and the Father of Swords and the Empress. So you're definitely getting that clarity. Father of Swords is the King of Swords. It's about like really clear cut communication, clarity, vision, being able to see beyond appearances, being able to see beyond illusion and delusion. And that means internally being able to look at myself, look at the Seven of Swords, look at my mind, wherever it is, like trying to rationalize its way around something, or feeling insecure, so making up stories to compensate for that, you know, wherever we're deluding ourselves. But the thing is, like, it's very important with the Empress here to not make an enemy out of your mind. The more we are like, hey, now I'm having this activity where I'm watching my mind how it's trying to deceive me, and I'm always like trying to catch myself doing it, and I'm starting to create these dynamics of, you're the bad guy. It's not it. Like sometimes, I look at our internal world, my internal world, and I feel like it's just like it's a lot of personas, and a lot of people, and a lot of characters there that are just trying to say a story, and they're kind of fighting over the who gets to tell the story, or who gets to run this ship, in terms of motivation, in terms of action, in terms of this, in terms of that. I know that sounds very split, but it's not really that. I mean, we don't really have a continuous sense of self. It's changing all the time, and it's changing, having to do with our environment, people in our lives. I can be in a certain way with somebody, I can be in a certain way with somebody else, and that's normal. And that's something again that we learn as we observe ourselves more, and we may feel like we're crazy in the beginning, when we really, like the first time when you start sitting with yourself more and more and more, you're like, what on earth is going on in here? It's a madness, it's pure madness. But we are, we live in a mad society, we live in, I don't even want to go into that. I believe that being able to look at your mind as a child is just like playing a role, a character, and it's just creating this story in order to, you know, alleviate pain somehow of sorts. Being able to see it, like really look at it through without any bias and without any preference. I just see it. Okay, yeah, the mind did this. With the Empress, it's introducing the element of compassion, and so does the strength. The strength in the way tarot, it's like a lady really taming a lion, but it's not really taming. It's more like really partnering with a lion, in the sense that they work together and they have a compassionate bond rather than power bond. And in this deck, having like, you know, the infinity on the lion's head, and the lion holding this rose, and the sun being behind, there's pure power coming from this nurturing attitude, and seeing through without fear of, oh, what does that say about me? Sometimes we're afraid to look at how we're deceiving ourselves, because we believe that we are bad, or that we are not, I don't know, if we think that this says something about ourselves. Ultimately it doesn't. Ultimately it's just what the mind does, and you are here with yourself in your lifetime, in your journey, to learn to know yourself, to experience yourself and experience the world through that. That means layers of conditioning and deconditioning and blah 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 are gonna come through, and you're gonna see through this again and again and again, developing compassion and maybe curiosity rather than judgment for these sides of ourselves that act out in certain ways. So you see, there's a lot of gentleness going on in here, including with this whatever comes from the shadow self, from the devil. Okay, I feel like this month the readings are so long. Maybe it's also because the camera is up there and I don't really see how time flies. I tend to talk a lot. All right, now let's see, what is the message for my dear Virgo to sum this all up. Lila. Yeah, there's shadow work involved here, and this is again the seven here, and it's like challenges. But I wouldn't concern myself too deeply with it. This is not something that will put you down for sure. Where are you? 34. Okay. I'm gonna read the poem for you. It says, from Rumi, yeah? Put aside your clever schemes. Look, this is exactly it, clever schemes. So put aside your clever schemes, O lover, be mindless, become mad, dive into the heart of the flame, become fearless, be like a moth. Turn away from the self and tear down the house, then come and dwell in the house of love. Be a lover, live with lovers. Clean your chest from all hostility. Wash it 7 times. 7. Ha, interesting. This 7 times thing. Maybe you know of any type of work that can help you clear out your heart space energy. Whether that means forgiveness practice, or loving kindness practice, or compassion practice, or if that means energy work, like really focusing and working on I don't know, Reiki, or meditating with your chakras or things like that. I think it's see what you can make of that based on your own practice. 7, wash your clean your chest from all hostility, wash it 7 times. It can be even literal, it can be spiritual baths, like when taking those baths with herbs and stuff, and with the intention to be cleansing and blah blah blah. Make it up for yourself. Then fill it with the wine of love. Be a chalice for love. Be a chalice. You must be all love to be worthy of the beloved. When going into the gathering of drunks, be a drunk, become drunk. Okay, I do have an objection to this, but of course this was written in the 16th century and it's something else. But I don't believe you must be anything in order to be worthy of anything. You are worthy. That was never on the table. Yes, well, and as we are love, and as we become aware of love, that as we become aware of the love that actually dwells within and not outside of ourselves, we can become more open to it, and more love easily comes to us, from in and out. It's something, but worthiness, that was never the case. You are worthy of love, beloved, beyond your measure, beyond your understanding. Your thought takes a course, dragging you in its wake. Move beyond thought, let your heart lead, be the leader. When the grace of love is revealed, be a mirror to reflect it. When the beloved's hair is loosened, brush it like a comb, be a comb. Okay, that's the poem. So let me see, I don't think I'm gonna read it all this time. So this oracle brings you a message. You are moving through a period of not knowing, of time in the great void or womb of the Divine Mother. It is in this place the seed can crack open and take root. This cannot happen in the light where all is seen and recognized. It must happen under the cover of darkness where only trust can assure one of success. This is the way of nature, the way of life, and it must be honored. This oracle brings you ancient wisdom. It guides you not to fear the darkness, but to enter it willingly. It is not for you to become lost, but you find your own way. You see, this is really finding your own way through the darkness by creating that clearing that it's coming from your heart with the cross here. It's coming from within yourself as you simply sit with it. There's nothing else required of you. Okay. So this oracle is saying that in the darkness there is the path, that tarikat. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that well. Do not turn away from it, let it be. Be with the lack of knowing. When people ask you for so many questions and demand sensible answers to support their notion of reality, do not bow to such unworthiness and fear. Know that their minds may be fearful for your safety and their own, lest your divine madness be contagious. But that their fear is nothing to you, nothing at all. It is not even anything to them, but they just don't know that yet. Under the sacred black cloak of the night, the Divine Mother, the Goddess, she who transfigures from darkness into the light, has invited you into her chamber. In that place you shall experience annihilation. You see this death that we were talking about. Okay, don't freak out. Where is it? In that place you shall experience annihilation, but only of that which is untrue, that of which would hold you back, dampen your spirit, or prevent you from bursting into full aliveness. For that which is true is already seated deep in her womb, and it is preparing to be born, strong and with good, powerful legs. So when it is time, it will leap like a wild creature, all instinct and intuition, into the morning light. For this moment, however, there is darkness, and that is essential for the appearance, so imminent, beloved, of the light on its own way. This oracle brings you guidance. If you find yourself to be sad, to be grieving, whether you know for what or not, or even depressed or struggling, feeling as though you are being pulled down, do not fight. Bear witness instead. Allow what is taking place to take place. Allow what is happening to happen. You shall find the joy in allowing the interplay of darkness and the light to take place according to greater unfolding rhythm of your own divine growth process. There's a ritual here. If you want to do it, go for it. If not, don't. So sit in the dark and quiet space if possible. Say aloud, I honor the darkness that serves the all-loving light. Through the grace of Rumi and the Divine Mother, I am blessed with growth of my soul into life. Even within the darkest of dark places, the Divine Beloved dwells with unfailing generosity and compassion. In my surrender, I am held. And in my darkness, the seed of new life takes root. So be it. Rest for as long as it feels good, and then you have completed your ritual. All right, my love, I think that this is a very important work that you're doing here. Given that, you see, we're talking about sitting in the dark, and you have the devil as your advice with death, with this whole cups and the Five of Swords. It's just a question of witnessing and allowing, and this just doesn't come lightly. I know it's not easy, but hang in there, and know that this is for you to find your way. As long as you are able to sit with it, you're going to be just fine. And if you're not able, that's fine too. For just observe as you go, I don't know, whatever compulsive thing you start doing. Notice when they're showing up. Notice what are the stories that your mind are telling you. Keep noticing, keep curious, and you'll see it's going to be okay. Thank you so much for being here, Virgo. I hope this makes sense to you. If you resonate with this, please like, share, subscribe, comment how you resonate with it, and may our practice benefit all beings. I'll see you here next month.